And you're really tall. Then
I am really tall. Yeah. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here tonight, and thanks for coming out. I'm going to share some of Yogi Berra's little morsels of Zen wisdom with you tonight. So I know there are a few of you out there who are probably thinking, who is Yogi Berra? Well, first, he's a real guy. He's not that animated bear who steals picnic baskets with his sidekick named Boo Boo. But he's also the famous baseball player, and he has these oxymoronic sayings that I think make perfect sense. But I'm going to share with you tonight 9 yogiisms where I felt there were awesome wisdom, gems of wisdom about design in them. So first, yogiism. A nickel ain't worth a dime anymore. Well, if you're like me, you're thinking, well, nickel's never been worth a dime. But this perfectly relates to at the beginning of a process when a client sometimes has that sticker shock. You get that budget and they're thinking, why is it so expensive? So they always ask that, and they always have sort of trouble understanding the valuation between the process behind something that's so simple. So this yogiism always reminds me that it's my job to help them understand the value of the design process and an original solution. Yogiism 2. If you don't know where you're going, you might end up someplace else. Right? Yes. This is a great reminder about sort of defining the goals and scope of a project at the very beginning. Because at the beginning of the project, this is your time to really set some standards. Because what happens at the beginning really affects throughout the rest of the project. So if you're not careful about defining that destination, it might move around on you. And you're trying to chase this elusive mirage. So if you align yourselves with the client and the goals at the beginning of the process, the more likely the process will go well, and you'll all end up in the same place and be happy at the end. Yogiism number 3. When you come to a fork in the road, take it. So it's not quite what I'd want if I was trying to get directions to that restaurant downtown, but this is exactly what I want to hear at the beginning when we're talking about permission meter with a client. I want permission to explore ideas. So a lot of the best ideas come from following paths that seem unlikely to give you a good solution. Or if you push a good solution a little bit further, you come up with something brilliant. So it's always remembering to take that fork in the road when you come to it during the design process. Yogiism 4. If you can't imitate him, don't copy him. This is a great reminder about, hey, it's okay to be inspired by someone, but don't copy them. So I get inspiration from many places and sometimes fellow designers. But you have to remember to mind that gap between being inspired and copying someone. But beware, when you're minding that gap, sometimes a client will ask you, hey, I found exactly what I want. I just sent it to you in email. Can you make it look exactly like this? Very tempting to please the client, but this yogiism forces you to stay strong and don't cave in. Don't copy off someone else. Yogiism 5. Nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. This is a great reminder about being trendy, right? I want to be hip. I want to have the best and the most awesome design solutions.
That's the High Line in New York,
right? But it's also important to produce solutions that are unique and stand out from the crowd and don't follow some of those trends. So this yogiism reminds me, hey, be aware of the ebb and flow of trends, because sometimes you might start to go for a trend and it's already past and it's not cool anymore. It also reminds me to keep going, so don't just stop at being an early adopter, keep it moving. And also it pushes me to change that trend. So yogiism 6. You can observe a lot just by watching. This is the perfect reminder about how awesome user testing is. Right? So I can't tell you how many times I've done user tests and thought, there's no way they can mess this up. And of course, there's like some guy who put something on his head. And you're like, why are you putting that on your head? That's not how it's supposed to work. No. So this one really reminds me like, hey, you need to remember to watch, not just coach people or see what you want to see. Yogiism 7. It gets late early out here. So this one's all about deadlines for me, right? So if you're like me, no matter time you have, those deadlines always sneak up on you. So, and I don't know how many times I've told myself, you know, oh, just a few more tweaks. And then all of a sudden, bam, it's time to send those files to the client. Like, where did the time go? Who knows, right? So, and another thing, this just reminds me, like, I will always use every possible second to work on refinements. Just ask Greg. I was supposed to have my slides to him by 6 p.m. 7:55, I got my slides. Thank you for letting me go over that. Yogiism 8. It ain't over till it's over. Well, for me, no truer words have ever been spoken. So the final review of a project is never complete with just one round of feedback, right? So it's my experience that the first final is never the final. Out there that say, make it pop, or I'll know it when I see it, or my favorite, I did this in Microsoft Paint last night. Did you make it look like this? All right. So in the end, if clients could do it themselves, I'd be out of a job. So this yogiism sort of really gives me solace as I try to make it pop, and as I create it until they see it, and as I take those lovely Microsoft Paint masterpieces and transform them into something intelligible.